government support for the Croydon area remodelling scheme. Peter Lamb, do you wish to make a speech? I think there is actually time with prior permission of the mover, but you weren't standing, so I wasn't sure.
Yes, thank you very much.
Go for it, Peter Lamb.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. It's a pleasure to serve at under your chairmanship. This issue has been on my radar for a very long time. I used to be the leader of the local authority in Crawley, and we've been aware for many years now that the capacity limitations which are coming on that line are going to be so severe it is going to gum up the network from the entirety, from the coast in Brighton all the way through to Peterborough and Cambridge, the whole sort of north-south link through London. To resolve this, we can only address this ultimately by resolving this particular bottleneck in Croydon. This is work that had already been commissioned. The DfT had commissioned scoping work. They'd started the process of bringing this forward. I'm aware that actually a significant part of the land that's required to undertake this works has been purchased and is just sitting idle, not really doing anything at this point. Unfortunately, it was a victim of the great strategic vision of our last Prime Minister, where he cancelled HS2 and a number of these other proposals. And since that point, of course, it's very hard for a department to try and get things back on that agenda. The new government has come in. There's a significant proposal for investing in infrastructure. I think people are underestimating just how significant actually the government's proposals around infrastructure are. You know, we're talking £100 billion of additional infrastructure investment under this government, which is going to transform a very large part of the country. The risk which we run into, however, is where this investment goes. And you've got different pressures acting on the DfT as a consequence of this, and some of it is about trying to regenerate regional economies in the north of England and in other parts of the country. And you know, as someone who lives in the South East, I actually think that's to my benefit to see other parts of the countries develop, because ultimately the direction of travel of policy in this country for many decades now has been essentially we're going to move the entire population of the United Kingdom in the South East, and that's where the only jobs are going to be. It's not sustainable. The housing pressures are just not sustainable. You have to have that regeneration elsewhere. The risk we run into, however, with insufficient investment in the South East is killing the goose that's laying the golden egg. The South East generates more, as a whole, the South East generates more economic activity than London. In combination with London, we're talking about a third of the UK's economic activity. If we are not investing in the infrastructure which sustains this, we're going to start running into very significant problems. And in my community, you know, we have Gatwick Airport that's proposed to come forward. Now, my community already has full employment. My community has a housing problem. My community has, with the existing capacity limitations on the line by 2030, will have a very significant transport problem. Without Gatwick expansion, I should add, those capacity limitations come into effect. Gatwick, to my community, is not necessarily bringing any additional benefits with this expansion. It brings benefits to the country, you know, and I can understand that. I can respect why the DfT is going in that direction. But if we're going to see that additional benefit to the country coming out of that economic activity, it has to come with the infrastructure necessary to not only enable my community to avoid the very negative consequences in terms of housing pressure and transport which will result if this isn't put into effect, but also to enable the country to actually get the best possible rate of return on that investment. And that ultimately is what, you know, those of us who are involved with this, and I can tell you there's a very large group of business groups now supporting this, making the point that actually we're cutting off investment in the area. And I can tell you, I was at a meeting last week with the member for Croydon East and the member for East Grinstead Uckfield, and a number of business groups and a number of transport groups. And one of those business groups said, because their purpose of their group is trying to bring inward investment into the United Kingdom, that people were refusing to move here once they experienced the railway capacity or the delays on the line, trying to get to and from Gatwick. So it is a very real consequence to the UK's inward investment strategy. But what you need to do is to ensure that you have the infrastructure to take the maximal benefits as a result of this growth, of this private investment that's coming in. And the South East will deliver on that. This is already the only line that is profit-making in the GTR network. With the numbers coming through, it is going to very quickly continue to increase the rate of return to the Treasury based upon that investment. For very few areas of rail investment which would actually do that, to subsidise other railway lines elsewhere. It is something which will actually pay for itself long term, but we need the pump priming at the start. And if you pump prime this part of the South East with the relatively limited amount of capital we're talking about here, it will deliver a much, much greater level of return to the Treasury, to the UK in terms of the social benefits and economic benefits of getting this growth coming forward. It's worth noting that passenger volumes are projected to increase by 50% by 2045. That's 15 years after we run out of capacity on the line. So if cars is not the solution to that, the question the DfT needs to answer is, what is their strategy for dealing with the capacity limitations of that scale on the line if this is not the answer? I'm very happy to lobby for something else if they point me in the direction, but this is the only thing, talking to transport people, that is going to resolve that particular problem. There are some temporary stops along the way they can deal with that. But despite the fact that after COVID we saw a reduction in passenger volumes, we are essentially back to the midweek peak now. So we don't really have the time to delay on this. These works are urgently needed if we're going to move things forward. And I would just say to the government, I appreciate the Treasury's got a range of different concerns and it's got to meet all of these, but this need is urgent now and is ultimately going to deliver a much better offer for the United Kingdom in the long run. Please, can we just get on with it? Thank you.
The question is that this House